Welcome to The Audience. I'm Ciara Pressler. This series is about moving you forward with strategy and style, whether you're growing your career or growing your business. Today I want to talk about fashion. That's why I wore my giraffe shirt. I went on safari this year, so I'm very into giraffes. The fashion business, is it just like Project Runway or is there more to it? Well, of course there is. Whether you are a creative professional or creative entrepreneur of any kind, there are special considerations. That is, if you're a designer, you're an artist, a performer, even a chef, there are certain things you have to do to balance out your craft with your business. Here are some of the most common mistakes that creative entrepreneurs make. 1, it is not about you. Yes, this is your art. Yes, it's important. It's something you created. But to sell it, you still have to communicate what makes it important to your audience. Number 2, know your industry. Each creative industry has its own personality and its own networks. If you're in film versus fashion versus visual art, each one of these has its own rules, its own players, and if you want to play in that game, you really need to know what's going on and how the game works. Number 3, you are CEO of You Incorporated. That means that if you have built your craft, you went to conservatory, you went to trade school, and you really learned how to create what it is you're creating, you still have to run the business side, which means you're the chief executive, you're the chief marketing officer, you're the sales team, you're the chief technology officer, all while you're doing your product development. So be sure to allot some time to learn how to run the business side of your creative career. I'm here on one of my favorite blocks in Soho, New York with Kristen Amato. She is an expert in the fashion industry and she's worked with so many brands that you've heard of and some emerging designers you haven't yet. Kristen, who are some of those?
I've worked with emerging brands such as Pamela Love up to really large brands like Kenzo and David Yurman.
Wow, and you do all kinds of different functions in the fashion industry, marketing, events, fill me in.
Yeah, I started out working in events, and then I got into working with designers, helping them sort of work on merchandising, find funding for their brands, find investors, and then I moved back into larger scale event production such as fashion shows for really well-known brands during Fashion Week.
Awesome. And I met Kristen when we both worked at Gen Art doing fashion events for emerging designers, and I could not believe how much goes into every piece of clothing, every accessory that we have. What are some of the tips you have for designers who are trying to figure out the business side and marry that with their creativity?
I would say that from many years of working with designers at very different levels of the business, there are a few things that I've seen. One of those things, I think it's really important to look the part. Of course, it seems like it goes without saying, but you are the best representation of your brand. If you aren't wearing your brand, then other people aren't going to be wearing your brand. Secondly, I would say that in this day and age, learning search engine optimization is incredibly important, especially if you're working on your own without a team. There's just so much information to be gained, and it's really, really crucial to understand where your customer is, how they shop, where they shop, why, and when. And lastly, I would say that with so many brands in the business, what you really need to be doing is compete by not competing. Think about what you're adding to the conversation, what's different that you're doing, even if it's something small, quality-wise or cut-wise. It doesn't need to be extreme, but then be very clear about what that thing is, and that will differentiate you from all the other brands out there.
So true for fashion and for all of business. Thanks, Kristen. Your resource of the week is the Fashion Designer Survival Guide. It's by Mary Geller, another Gen Art alumna, and it will help you learn everything you need to know to get started in the industry. If you remember nothing else from this episode, remember this: you are the CEO of You Incorporated. I'm Ciara Pressler. Remember, it's all about the audience.